On Monday morning, I had barely set my turkey sandwich on my desk when my phone buzzed. A new message appeared in the company's general Slack channel. Vanessa Crowley had tagged all 43 employees. Starting today, I would appreciate it if everyone stopped eating lunch at their desks. I'm pregnant, and my sense of smell is extremely sensitive. Food odors in the office make me nauseous and could affect the baby. This is a workplace, not a cafeteria. I read the message twice. Harbor Point Software occupied the entire 12th floor of an old building in Chicago's Loop. We had a small kitchen with 2 microwaves, 1 refrigerator, and a coffee machine, but no dining room. The nearest food court was inside a shopping center, more than a 10-minute walk away. On days when freezing wind blew in from Lake Michigan, nobody wanted to put on a coat, ride the elevator down, and walk several blocks through the snow just to eat a salad. So most of us brought lunch from home or ordered delivery and ate at our desks. My name is Mara Ellison. I was 31 and handled human resources operations. I was not Vanessa's direct manager, but requests involving workplace conditions usually came through me. I sent her a private message. Congratulations on the good news. I understand that pregnancy can make you sensitive to odors. However, the company does not currently have a dedicated dining area, so we cannot immediately prohibit all employees from eating at their desks. I can reserve a small conference room for your lunch break, approve limited work-from-home days, or adjust your lunch schedule so you are away when others heat their meals. We can discuss the options with your manager and choose a reasonable accommodation. Vanessa replied almost immediately. I don't understand why the entire office can't make one small sacrifice for a pregnant woman. I typed back. Because this is a shared workplace, we will provide reasonable accommodations for you, but we cannot take away lunch access from more than 40 people without giving them an alternative. The typing indicator appeared, then vanished. A minute later, she sent another message. Honestly, their food is disgusting anyway. One day it's tuna, the next it's cold cuts, and then some thick red sauce that looks like dog food. I could tolerate it before, but now that I'm pregnant, every lunch break feels like being locked inside a garbage dump full of food. I did not respond. I took screenshots of the entire conversation and saved them in the internal file. Vanessa had worked at Harbor Point for nearly 3 years on the customer support team. Even before her pregnancy, she had been difficult, though she usually completed her work. She complained about the temperature, keyboard noise, perfume, and how loudly other people spoke on the phone. Most coworkers simply considered her fussy. Everything changed after she announced her pregnancy 2 weeks earlier. She arrived late almost every day, but demanded that the timekeeping system ignore it, because pregnant women should not be stressed by clocks. She refused difficult customer calls and transferred them to Sadie Monroe, who had been with the company for less than 6 months. She ordered Ethan Walsh from marketing not to walk past her desk after smoking outside because the odor remained on his clothing. That last request was not entirely unreasonable. I even advised Ethan to use the opportunity to quit. But Vanessa did not stop at making a request. Whenever Ethan walked past, she stood in the middle of the office, covered her nose, and announced loudly, "Do you know that smell is toxic to a fetus? If something happens to my baby, can you take responsibility?" Ethan became so embarrassed that he kept a clean jacket in his locker and changed after every cigarette break. That morning, when I stepped out of the elevator, he was standing near the time clock, pulling up his collar and sniffing it. He waved me over. "Mara, can you check whether I still smell like smoke? I work in HR. I'm not a detection dog." I'm serious. Vanessa just looked at me like I carried poison gas into the office. I tested the air from a safe distance. "I don't smell anything, but you really should quit." Ethan sighed. "This job makes me want to smoke. Now the person who makes me want to smoke the most is the one banning me from smoking." I laughed and walked in with him. In the small kitchen, Gloria Mendoza from accounting was placing a tray of baked ziti in the refrigerator. Sadie had brought turkey chili. Ethan had bought a meatball sub so large that the wrapper would not close. I had my turkey sandwich, a green apple, and a can of ginger ale. Vanessa stood in front of the coffee maker, watching each person put food into the refrigerator. She wore a cream-colored knit dress and a pale blue cardigan. At a little over 10 weeks, she was barely showing. "Did nobody read my message?" she asked. Gloria shut the refrigerator door. "We read it." "Then why did everyone still bring food?" "Because we have to eat. The food court is only a few blocks away." Gloria was in her 40s and the calmest person in the office. She zipped her insulated lunch bag and said, "It is 14 degrees outside, windy and snowing. I am not walking 20 minutes round trip to eat lunch because you refuse to use a conference room." Vanessa placed one hand over her stomach. "You have never been pregnant, so you don't understand." Gloria looked at her for a moment. "I have 2 children." Vanessa paused, then changed her tone. "Every pregnancy is different." "Exactly. That is why the company offered accommodations specifically for you." Vanessa turned to me. "Mara, have you spoken to Gavin?" Gavin Mercer was the operations director and Vanessa's direct manager. He was traveling in Milwaukee and was not expected back until the end of the week. I emailed him. "Until he returns, you may use conference room 3 during lunch. That room has no windows. It has ventilation. It feels claustrophobic. I can approve the wellness room beside the server room. That room is the size of a closet. I can also approve an early lunch at 11:30, then let you rest at your desk while everyone else eats." Vanessa crossed her arms. "Why am I the one who has to change?" Nobody answered. She looked around and said, "Fine, if nobody cares about my baby, then I have nothing else to say." She picked up her water and left the kitchen. Sadie watched her go. "She talks as if all of us got her pregnant together." Gloria coughed to hide a laugh. I turned to Sadie. "Do not say that in the general channel." "I know." By 11, however, a private chat called Lunch Survivors had appeared. Ethan created it and added Gloria, Sadie, and me. Ethan wrote, "Tomorrow I'm bringing buffalo wings. Anyone else bringing something fragrant?" Sadie posted a picture of tuna casserole. "How about this?" Gloria replied. "Do not provoke her on purpose. Eat normally, but don't turn yourselves into bullies." I agreed with Gloria. I wrote, "Nobody has to change lunch because of Vanessa, but nobody should use food as retaliation either. Keep all communication professional, and save screenshots if she makes unreasonable demands. This may become a formal HR matter." Ethan sent a zipped mouth emoji. At 12:15, the smells of baked ziti, meatballs, chili, and hot coffee began spreading through the office. Vanessa jumped to her feet. "Who heated something with garlic?" Gloria raised a hand. "My ziti." "Can you eat it cold?" "No. Garlic makes me nauseous." Gloria opened the window near her desk a few inches for ventilation. Vanessa immediately rushed over and closed it. "It's freezing outside." "What if I catch a cold?" "You just said you needed fresh air." "Fresh air does not mean an icy draft." Sadie set down her bowl of chili. "Then what do you want?" "I want everyone to stop eating in the office." "But you also refuse to use the conference room." "I am not obligated to lock myself away," Ethan muttered. "Apparently, we are obligated to starve." Vanessa heard him. She placed a hand over her stomach and stared at him. "If I become stressed and something happens, remember what you just said." Ethan immediately turned toward me. "Mara, you heard that. I did not say anything about the baby." I nodded. "I heard." Vanessa returned to her desk, put on a mask, and switched on a miniature air purifier. Every time someone opened a food container, she released an exaggerated sigh. I thought that was the peak of her behavior. I had underestimated her. 3 days later, Vanessa pretended to have abdominal pain in the middle of a client meeting. Sadie was presenting a report when Vanessa suddenly clutched her stomach, doubled over, and groaned. The entire room panicked. I stopped the meeting immediately. Are you bleeding? Is the pain coming in waves? Do you need me to call 911 or take you to the hospital? Vanessa closed her eyes. Sadie was speaking so quickly that she stressed me out. Sadie went pale. I was only presenting the section you assigned me. I knelt beside Vanessa. If you have abdominal pain during pregnancy, we do not guess at the cause. I am calling emergency services. Vanessa opened her eyes. That isn't necessary. I just need to rest. Do you want me to call your husband? He's busy. I can take you to a clinic. She thought for a few seconds, then asked, if a doctor gives me a week off, will the company pay my full salary? The room became silent. I stood. Leave depends on medical documentation and the paid time you still have available. First, we need to make sure you are safe. Vanessa rubbed her stomach a few more times and said, I feel better now. She sat upright, drank some water, and 10 minutes later opened her laptop as if nothing had happened. Sadie looked at me, her eyes red with anger. After the meeting, she pulled me into the copy room. She did that on purpose, so she could blame me. I know. Did you document it? I did. I cannot keep doing half her work and then be accused of endangering her pregnancy. I will speak to Gavin as soon as he returns. Sadie bit her lip. If the company does nothing, I'm quitting. That was when I understood this was no longer a series of complaints about food smells. Vanessa was using her pregnancy to control the entire office, and if we did not establish boundaries, the people with the least power would be pushed out first. Over the next several days, Vanessa did not improve. She began walking around the office like a self-appointed health inspector. If she saw a food container that was not sealed, she photographed it and posted it in Slack with a reminder. Please be more considerate. There is a pregnant woman in this office. If someone ate crunchy snacks, she complained that the chewing gave her a headache. If anyone brewed strong coffee, she said the smell of caffeine made her sick. One afternoon, Ethan opened a package of beef jerky. Vanessa jumped up, wrapped the entire package in paper towels, and threw it into the trash. When Ethan saw her, he nearly lost his mind. That was mine! It smelled like wet shoes. What gives you the right to throw away my food? Vanessa placed a hand over her stomach. What gives you the right to make an unborn baby smell smoked meat all day? I had to stand between them, tell Ethan not to grab the package back by force, and require Vanessa to reimburse him $18. She glared at me. Why should I pay for something that was dangerous to me? Because you destroyed a coworker's personal property. You're taking his side. I'm taking the side of the policy. Vanessa sent Ethan exactly $18 through Venmo, but the payment note read, buying back his right to poison pregnant women. Ethan took a screenshot and sent it to me. I added it to the file. By the end of the week, Gloria suggested that we order lunch together from an Italian deli near the office. We ordered chicken parmesan, minestrone soup, garlic knots, and a small tray of cannoli to celebrate Sadie closing her first account. Vanessa did not join us. She said the smell of hot cheese made her vomit. At noon, the delivery driver brought the paper containers upstairs. We arranged them on the long table beside the kitchen, opened a window for a few minutes, and turned on the exhaust fan. Vanessa sat at her desk wearing a mask, her eyes fixed on her monitor. Sadie divided the food. Gloria was serving chicken parmesan when Vanessa appeared behind her. Let me try a bite. Gloria looked surprised. I thought the smell made you nauseous. Now I suddenly want some. All right, let me get a clean fork. Vanessa did not wait. She reached into Sadie's container with her bare hand. took the largest piece of chicken, and bit into it. Sadie stared at her. "What did you just do?" Vanessa chewed while continuing to look at the food. "It was one bite. That was my container. We ordered together." "No, everyone ordered an individual meal." Vanessa sucked tomato sauce from her fingertips. "You're being stingy. I'm pregnant. If I get a sudden craving, what is so terrible about one bite?" Sadie snatched the container back. "You could have asked. You cannot put your hand into someone else's food." Vanessa shrugged. "If you don't like it, throw it away." She turned toward my desk, picked up my unopened can of root beer, and began walking back to her seat. I called after her. "Vanessa, that belongs to me." She looked down at the can. "I need something carbonated for the nausea. There is ginger ale in the refrigerator. The company bought it for you." "I don't like that flavor." "Then ask before taking mine." Vanessa opened the root beer. "I'll replace it." "This is not about the price." "Then what is it about?" "Boundaries." She took a drink and gave me a dismissive smile. "You are making a huge issue out of one soda." I walked over, pulled out my phone, and photographed the can in her hand. "Fine. I am documenting that you took a coworker's personal property after being asked to return it." The smile disappeared from her face. "Mara, are you spying on me?" "I am doing my job." She slammed the can down on my desk hard enough to splash soda across the surface. "Document whatever you want. If my baby has problems because this office bullied me, I will sue every one of you." Gloria pulled Sadie back before she could respond. I thought the incident would make Vanessa more cautious. It did not. It only made her more secretive. The following week, I noticed that the snack cabinet beneath my desk was frequently being opened. A bag of pretzels disappeared. 2 bottles of sparkling water had been partially consumed. Half of the dark chocolate bar I had saved for an afternoon meeting was gone. At first, I thought I had remembered incorrectly. Then I placed a strip of clear tape across the cabinet door. The next morning, the tape had been torn. I reviewed the common area security footage. The cameras did not point directly at desks, in order to protect privacy, but a hallway angle showed Vanessa crouching beside my desk during a break. She remained there for nearly 3 minutes, then returned to her seat carrying a blue bottle. I sent the clip to Gavin, whose trip had been extended. He replied, "I will handle this as soon as I return Thursday. Until then, lock your personal belongings. Do not confront her alone." I purchased a small padlock for the cabinet. Vanessa noticed it immediately. "Are you afraid someone is stealing from you?" "I want to protect my personal items." "That sounds like an accusation." "I'm not implying anything." She stared at the lock and walked away. On Thursday, the team decided to go out for lunch to celebrate the long President's Day weekend. Since the snow had stopped, we chose a restaurant 1 block away that served pot roast and mac and cheese. Vanessa said she was too tired to come. We left the office at 12:15. When we returned shortly before 1, the elevator doors opened and a sharp, sour odor hit us. It was not food. It was vomit. Gloria immediately covered her nose with a tissue. "Oh, God." Sadie ran in to open the windows. Ethan turned on the kitchen exhaust fan. Vanessa slowly stood up from beneath my desk. Her hair was disheveled, and in one hand, she held a lemon-flavored sparkling water that had been locked inside my cabinet. I looked at the lock. It lay on the floor, its metal shackle bent. "What were you doing under my desk?" Vanessa wiped her mouth. "I felt sick. I was looking for water." "You broke the lock on my cabinet?" "I'd barely pulled it. The cheap thing came apart by itself." I hurried to my desk. The trash can, which had been emptied that morning, was filled with liquid vomit. The bag bulged with partially digested food and wet tissues. The smell forced me to step back. 6 bottles of my sparkling water were lined up on the desk. Every one had been opened and partially emptied. Vanessa had sampled all 6. I turned toward her. The restroom is at the end of the hall. That was too far. It is less than 60 feet away. I got dizzy when I stood up. If I tried to walk and fell, would you take responsibility? There is a large trash can beside the conference room. I did not have time. Then why didn't you use the trash can at your own desk? Vanessa glanced toward the clean bin beneath her workstation. I didn't want my area to smell. Sadie's mouth fell open. I took a slow breath. You broke a lock, searched through my belongings, tasted 6 drinks, and vomited into my trash can because you didn't want your own desk to smell? Do not make it sound deliberate. Morning sickness is normal during pregnancy. Vomiting is normal. Breaking into a coworker's cabinet is not. Vanessa crossed her arms. I'll pay for the lock. You also need to deal with the trash. She looked at the bag and grimaced. No, it is heavy and full of liquid. I am not supposed to lift heavy things. You do not have to lift it alone. I will call the cleaning service, but you need to acknowledge that it is your bodily waste and apologize. The cleaning lady is paid to clean. Mrs. Delgado cleans the office. She is not your personal servant. Vomit also has to be handled under sanitation procedures. Vanessa rolled her eyes. You are making this ridiculous. It is mostly liquid. What is the big deal? Then move it to your own desk. I'm not touching it. You just said there was nothing serious about it. Mara, I am pregnant. Are you really going to make me bend over and carry a container of waste? I looked at the trash can, then at the broken lock on the floor. I had reached my limit. I put on 2 pairs of gloves, wrapped the can in a heavy-duty trash bag, placed it on the plastic document cart, and rolled it over to Vanessa's desk. I did not spill anything, splash anything, or ask her to lift it. I placed the tray on the empty corner of her workstation. This is what you left behind. Mrs. Delgado will dispose of it after you sign an incident report and apologize for breaking into my cabinet. Vanessa stared at the trash can, as if I had placed a corpse on her desk. Are you insane? No, I am returning it to the person who created it. She jumped to her feet. Get it out of here. You refused to leave it at your own desk because it smelled, but expected me to keep sitting beside it. I am pregnant. I know, that does not make my desk your private restroom. Vanessa shoved the tray. The trash bag inside was already stretched tight. A sharp corner of a paper container pierced the bottom, and liquid began leaking onto the tray and dripping over the edge of her desk. Vanessa screamed, Look what you did! I did not push it. You brought it over here. Ethan stepped back, but still gave me a discreet thumbs up. Gloria whispered, This is going to explode. I turned to the others. We are going to the coffee shop downstairs. Mrs. Delgado will handle this after we photograph the scene. Nobody touches anything. Sadie looked at Vanessa and asked, Aren't you afraid she'll damage your things? I locked my computer and took my bag. Vanessa stood in the middle of the office, her face bright red. Nobody is leaving. You are all ganging up on me. I looked at her. No, we are preventing the argument from continuing. I led everyone out of the office. In the elevator, Ethan said, She'll be crying to Gavin before we finish our coffee. He was right. When we returned more than an hour later, crying could be heard from the manager's office all the way down the hall. Gavin Mercer had just returned from Milwaukee. His suitcase still stood beside the door, and he had not removed his coat. Vanessa sat on the sofa in his office, clutching a box of tissues. She said the entire office had formed a secret group to isolate her, intentionally brought strongly scented food, forced her to work too hard, allowed Ethan to poison the baby with cigarette smoke, and then placed a trash can full of vomit on her desk to humiliate a pregnant woman. The door was only partly closed. I stood outside and listened as she named each person. Gloria deliberately opened a window in the middle of winter and put me at risk of getting sick. Sadie constantly pressures me by pointing out unfinished work. Ethan smells like cigarettes every day. Mara follows me, takes pictures, and creates a file so she can find an excuse to fire me. Finally, Vanessa said in a choked voice, "They either already have daughters or they have no children. They are jealous because I'm carrying a boy." Gloria stood behind me, her body going rigid. I knew why. 12 years earlier, Gloria had given birth to her second daughter and then required a hysterectomy because of complications. Her former mother-in-law had called her a woman who could not preserve the family line. The marriage collapsed soon afterward. I caught Gloria by the wrist before she entered. "Let me handle this." I picked up the file, knocked, and walked in. "Gavin, you're back." He looked at me as though reinforcements had arrived. "Mara, come in." Vanessa turned toward me, her eyes swollen. "Her! She's the one." I placed the file on the desk. "I understand you are reporting several concerns. I have photographs, messages, common area video, and witness statements for comparison." Vanessa pointed toward the office. She put the trash can on my desk. "After you broke the lock on my cabinet, drank my personal beverages, vomited in my trash can, and refused to cooperate with the sanitation process. I'm pregnant. Nobody is denying that. Then you should make allowances for me. I have a duty to provide reasonable accommodations. I do not have a duty to accept theft, property damage, or unsafe sanitation." Gavin raised both hands. "All right, we stop here." He looked at Vanessa. "The company will continue allowing employees to eat at their desks because we do not currently have a dining area. Everyone must keep containers sealed, clean immediately after eating, and use the ventilation system. Vanessa, you may use conference room 3 or the wellness room during lunch. Change your lunch hour. Work from home 2 days a week with medical documentation, and move your desk closer to a window." Vanessa pressed her lips together. "The conference room has no window. The wellness room is too small. Working from home will affect my commission. Then move your desk near the window. That is close to Ethan. Ethan will not smoke during lunch and will change his outer jacket after smoking. This is the final option." Vanessa looked up. "What if I refuse?" Gavin looked exhausted. "Then you may submit another reasonable proposal in writing, but you cannot ban the entire company from eating lunch, take personal property, break locks, or require other people to handle your bodily waste. If any of those behaviors happen again, the company will take disciplinary action whether or not you are pregnant." Vanessa looked from Gavin to me. For the first time, she understood that pregnancy could not prevent a formal warning. She wiped her eyes and sat upright. "I'll try to cooperate." I knew the promise would not survive past the doorway. Sure enough, the moment Vanessa stepped out of Gavin's office, her expression changed. She put one hand on her hip, looked at me, and smiled coldly. "You're only HR, Mara. Don't think you have more authority than everyone else." "I don't need more authority than you. I only need you to follow the same rules as everyone else. This company would lose half its customers without me." Sadie, who was seated nearby, stood up. "Which half?" "Customers submit forms through the website, and the system distributes them across the team. I've been handling almost half of your tickets for weeks." Vanessa turned on her. "I'm training you. You transfer the work and disappear. That isn't training. You're young. Don't assume a few reports mean you understand the job." Gavin stepped out of his office. "Vanessa." One word was enough to stop her. Her voice changed immediately. "I was only explaining my role. No more explanations. Go home early today. On Monday, we will sign the accommodation agreement and the incident report regarding Mara's property." Vanessa bit her lip, collected her bag, and left the office. Before leaving, she called Mrs. Delgado over and pointed to her desk. "Clean this area for me, and next week, move my desk somewhere with more light, better air, and away from negative energy." Mrs. Delgado leaned on her mop and looked Vanessa up and down. "I cleaned the office. I do not assign desks. Vanessa pointed toward her stomach. I'm pregnant, Mrs. Delgado replied calmly. Congratulations. HR still assigns desks. Ethan bent over and pretended to search for something so he could hide his laughter. Mrs. Delgado put on gloves, disinfected the entire area, and requested Vanessa's signature on the bodily fluid incident form. Vanessa had already left, so I signed as the HR witness and saved the photographs. On Monday, Vanessa arrived on time, wearing a blue dress with a small blue bow attached to her handbag. She placed a box of blue frosted cupcakes on the table. Good news, she said. I'm having a boy. The office went silent. Gloria asked, You're only about 11 weeks. Did you get genetic testing results already? Vanessa stroked her stomach. I don't need testing. My mother-in-law knows how to tell. Sadie thought she was joking. How? I crave salty food more than sweets. The fetal heartbeat is under 140, and my belly is pointed. Those are all signs of a boy. Ethan muttered. You're not even showing yet. Vanessa pretended not to hear. My mother-in-law also did the ring test last night. The ring moved in a circle, so it is definitely a boy. My husband's family has had only boys for 3 generations. Gloria looked at the blue cupcake. Those are folk beliefs. The only reliable answer comes from medical testing. You don't have to believe me. I know my baby. Mrs. Delgado, who was changing a trash bag nearby, asked, Did the doctor confirm it? Vanessa lowered her voice, as though sharing a secret, but still spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. At my last ultrasound, the technician helped me sit up and called the baby a little fighter. She would not have said that if it were a girl. I had to turn away to keep from laughing. Gloria's face went red from trying to hold it in. Nobody touched the cupcakes. Annoyed, Vanessa carried the box to the customer support area and posted a picture on Instagram with the caption, No need to wait for a gender reveal. A mother's heart always knows. During the following week, she signed the workplace accommodation agreement. The company allowed her to work remotely on Tuesdays and Thursdays, transferred some difficult tickets to other employees, placed an air purifier beside her desk, and allowed short breaks when she felt nauseous. In return, she had to meet a minimum ticket quota, stop taking coworkers' belongings, and use a private room if she needed to avoid food smells. Vanessa complied for 4 days. On the 5th, she complained that the minimum ticket quota was placing stress on the fetus. On the 6th, she ordered Sadie to bring up decaf coffee from the cafe downstairs because pregnant women should not walk on icy sidewalks. Sadie refused. Vanessa reported Sadie to Gavin for lacking team spirit. Gavin forwarded the email to me and replied that purchasing personal coffee was not part of any employee's job. Vanessa then began claiming that the company was secretly preparing to replace her during maternity leave. The fear was not entirely irrational. Customer support genuinely needed more staff because the client base was growing quickly. But Vanessa treated every applicant as someone coming to steal her job. She asked me, Are you hiring someone to replace me? We are adding 2 positions because the company is expanding. Right when I'm pregnant? The plan was approved before you announced the pregnancy. You could wait until I come back. We cannot leave a department understaffed for nearly a year. Then later you'll claim you no longer need me. Your position remains protected under company policy and applicable law, provided you meet the job requirements or use approved leave. Vanessa stared at me. You sound like a lawyer. I sound like someone who has to document everything because you regularly threaten to sue the company. She walked away, but after that, she stopped reminding me that I was only HR. At the end of February, Harbor Point closed for a 3-day weekend. I planned to sleep, do laundry, and visit Gloria for chili on Sunday evening. On Tuesday morning after the holiday, Vanessa did not come in. At 9, she had not logged on. At 9:30, Gavin called her personal number, but nobody answered. At 10:15, his desk phone rang. After the call, he came out looking tense. "Mara, come into my office." I closed the door behind me. "Vanessa is at Northwestern Memorial." "What happened?" "She was assaulted on the L this morning. She lost the pregnancy." I stood motionless. Even after weeks of exhausting the entire office, the news still made my stomach tighten. How far along was she? 13.5 weeks. Was the attacker arrested? The police detained him. Gavin rubbed his forehead. According to Brandon, Vanessa was sitting in a priority seat on the red line. A woman in the late stages of pregnancy boarded with her husband. The husband asked Vanessa to give up the seat. Vanessa said she was pregnant too, but she wasn't showing. He thought she was lying. And then he hit her? Witnesses said they argued. Vanessa accused the wife of using her belly to bully people. The husband grabbed Vanessa's arm and pulled her to her feet. The train braked suddenly. Vanessa lost her balance, and her abdomen struck the corner of a metal suitcase. Then he shoved her again when she tried to hit him back. I closed my eyes. A dispute over a seat. One person using pregnancy to demand priority, and the other saying she was pregnant too but not being believed. The similarity to what Vanessa had done in the office was bitterly ironic. But I felt no satisfaction. A man using force to pull and shove a woman was unacceptable, whether or not he believed she was pregnant. "What is the company going to do?" I asked. "Prepare medical leave, send support, and have representatives visit. I want you and Gloria to go because you understand the HR situation." I nodded. We bought a gift basket at a shop near the hospital, jars of chicken soup, crackers, ginger tea, fragrance-free lotion, a soft blanket, and a food delivery gift card. The company also sent a $3,000 check from the emergency fund. Gloria and I each contributed $200. Gloria barely spoke on the way to the hospital. When the car stopped at a red light, she finally said, "Mara, I hate her. But I don't know what to say when we see her." "You do not have to say much. Ask how she feels and tell her the company processed the leave paperwork. Do not say, 'You can always have another baby.' Of course not. Do not say, 'Everything happens for a reason.' I know." Gloria looked out the window. "People said that to me after my surgery. I wanted to punch them." I placed my hand over hers. "We will not say any of those things." But when we entered the hospital room, we discovered that we were not the ones who needed the reminder. Vanessa lay in bed with her phone against her ear. Her eyes were slightly swollen, but her voice sounded strangely relieved. "I'm fine, Brandon. The doctor said the testing showed it was a girl. At least I lost a girl this time and not a boy. If it had been a boy, I don't think I could have survived it." Gloria and I stopped outside the doorway. A woman around 55 was pulling the blanket over Vanessa. I recognized her from social media photographs as Vanessa's mother, Darlene Foster. Darlene said, "Stop crying. Crying while your body is weak can damage your eyes. You need more protein, bone broth, and a few months of rest before trying again. Brandon's family has produced boys for 3 generations. Next time, you have to get it right." Vanessa nodded. "My mother-in-law said we could receive a large settlement from this." That's right. The little one had some sense. If she was not welcome, she left early and still brought money for her future brother. Gloria squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. I knocked. Both women turned. Vanessa ended the call quickly. "Gavin sent us to visit," I said. "Everyone at the company is concerned about you." I set down the gift basket. Gloria asked, "How are you feeling?" "Sore and weak." Vanessa's voice became pitiful immediately. I handed her the envelope. The company sent $3,000 from the emergency fund. Gloria and I added another $400. This is not a legal settlement, only voluntary support. Vanessa opened the envelope in front of us. She counted the money and frowned. "Only $3,400? Gloria stared at her. It came from everyone's concern. I lost my baby on the way to work. Darlene interrupted. A company that big sent only this much? I kept my voice calm. Medical leave and insurance will be handled separately. This payment is outside company policy. Vanessa set the envelope on the bed. This should be workers' compensation. I was injured while going to work. That determination must be made by the workers' compensation carrier and legal counsel. Under the general commuting rule in Illinois, an injury while traveling from home to work is not automatically work-related, especially when the conflict had nothing to do with a work assignment. I was injured on the train. Yes, but the cause was another passenger's conduct, not a risk created by your job. The man was arrested. That means I was not at fault. Whether he committed a crime and whether the company is legally responsible are separate questions. Vanessa began crying. You always look for reasons to deny me. I have not denied anything. I am explaining the process. We will submit the claim to the carrier, but I cannot promise the result. Darlene crossed her arms. Then my daughter should quit. A company like this is not worth working for. Vanessa looked at me. If I resign, the company has to pay me 6 months of salary. No, if you resign voluntarily, there is no automatic 6-month payment. The company may review a separate settlement request, but it has no obligation to pay whatever amount you demand. Are you threatening me? I am making sure you understand before making a decision. Vanessa pushed the gift basket aside. Get out. I don't want to look at either of you. I led Gloria from the room. As soon as we reached the hall, we heard Darlene say, Do not sign anything. Make enough noise, and the company will pay, because it is afraid of bad publicity. Gloria leaned against the wall and wiped her forehead. I have never met anyone like that. I looked at the hospital room door. I had arrived intending to protect an employee who had suffered a loss. Vanessa saw the loss as a bargaining opportunity. 3 days later, Vanessa resigned by email. The subject line read, Formal termination of employment due to pregnancy discrimination. In the body, she listed 17 violations by Harbor Point, from allowing coworkers to eat garlic bread in the office to refusing to pay her 6 months of salary after the train incident. At the end, she demanded 6 months of salary. All medical expenses not covered by insurance, compensation for emotional distress, penalties for a hostile work environment, and a reference letter stating that she left for health reasons rather than performance. I forwarded the email to the company's employment attorney. He read it and called me. Did she clearly resign? Yes. She wrote, I terminate my employment effective immediately. Do not argue by email. Confirm receipt, explain continuation of coverage rights, send final pay information, and state that counsel will review the remaining demands. What about the pregnancy accommodation file? Preserve everything, especially the options the company offered and every time she refused. I followed his instructions. Vanessa did not accept the response. 1 week later, she appeared in the lobby with Darlene and Brandon. Vanessa wore a long coat, walked slowly, and kept one hand over her abdomen as though she were still pregnant. Darlene carried a thick stack of documents. Brandon stood behind them, looking exhausted and barely spoke. Security called me downstairs. Vanessa demanded to see CEO Peter Langford. He does not have an appointment with you. I used to work here. I have the right to speak with him. You may submit a request through your attorney. Darlene slammed the documents onto the reception counter. My daughter lost her baby because she had to work for this company. I said. The confrontation happened on public transportation and was unrelated to any work assignment. The company still submitted the claim to its insurance carrier for evaluation. Vanessa pointed at me. You forced me to go to work. You never requested leave that morning because I was afraid you would deduct my pay. The company has a sick leave policy, and you still had available days. but you documented everything I did. I documented it because there had been repeated disputes. Brandon finally spoke. Vanessa, let's go home. She spun toward him. Be quiet. If you had driven me to work, none of this would have happened. Brandon lowered his eyes. Darlene said, She is weak. Stop stressing her. I asked security to escort them out after Vanessa began recording video and claimed Harbor Point was throwing out a mother who had just lost her child. That afternoon, the video appeared on TikTok. Vanessa did not mention that she had resigned voluntarily. She did not say the company had offered remote work, flexible lunch hours, a private restroom, and reduced duties. She showed only the part where she stood in the lobby with tears on her face and said, I gave this company 3 years. When I became pregnant, they turned me into a burden. When I lost my baby on the way to work, they threw me out. The video received nearly 200,000 views in 2 days. Some commenters called Harbor Point inhumane. Others asked why she had lost the pregnancy on a train and why the company should be responsible. Peter wanted to respond publicly. The attorney stopped him. Do not disclose medical or personnel records. Say only that the company complied with the law, offered reasonable accommodations, and will not comment further on an individual dispute. We issued a short statement. Vanessa continued. She applied for unemployment benefits, claiming she had been forced to resign. The State Labor Department requested records. We provided her resignation email, meeting notes, proof of the accommodations offered, and her written refusals. The claim was denied. She then filed a pregnancy discrimination complaint with the State Human Rights Agency. Once again, we provided documentation. The investigator interviewed Gavin, me, Sadie, Ethan, Gloria, and Vanessa. Sadie produced ticket logs showing that she had absorbed nearly 40% of Vanessa's workload. Ethan provided messages in which Vanessa threatened him over cigarette odor, even though he always smoked off company property. I submitted the video of Vanessa breaking the cabinet lock, photographs of the open drinks, and emails offering multiple accommodations. 4 months later, the agency concluded there was insufficient evidence that the company had discriminated against Vanessa because of pregnancy. Its decision specifically noted that Harbor Point had offered several reasonable accommodations and that Vanessa had voluntarily resigned after an event outside the scope of employment. She received no settlement from the company. Marcus Holden, the man on the train, was prosecuted for assault. Video showed him pulling Vanessa from the seat and then shoving her when she swung her bag at him. He received probation, community service, mandatory anger management counseling, and an order to pay part of her medical costs along with a civil settlement. Vanessa received money from that case. According to her social media posts, it was enough to pay off credit card debt and make a down payment on a used SUV. Gloria looked at the photograph of the vehicle and shook her head. She said she was saving the money for the next baby. I did not answer. After leaving Harbor Point, Vanessa continued appearing on social media from time to time. She posted videos about the rights of working mothers, how to deal with toxic coworkers, and signs your company is trying to force out pregnant employees. In one video, she used the photograph of the trash can on her desk as an example of workplace violence. She omitted the part where she broke into my cabinet and drank from every bottle. Sadie sent the video to lunch survivors. Ethan replied, She should become a film editor. She is excellent at removing context. I reminded everyone not to comment publicly. 27 days after the miscarriage, Vanessa posted a photograph of a positive pregnancy test with the caption, Our miracle returned sooner than expected. His little brother has come back to mommy. Gloria called me immediately. That cannot happen that quickly. I don't know. Pregnancy hormones can keep a test positive for weeks after a miscarriage. Maybe she misunderstood. Or maybe she did it deliberately. I did not want to speculate. I turned off my phone. 3 days later, Vanessa deleted the post. We heard nothing for almost 3 months. Then a recruiter told me that Vanessa had accepted a job at Bright Path Logistics, a transportation company with offices in Oak Brook. She was still in customer service, but the salary was higher than at Harbor Point. Not disclosing a pregnancy during an interview was not illegal. In the United States, applicants have no obligation to announce a pregnancy, and employers are not permitted to ask. What caught my attention was the timeline. In a new post, Vanessa said she was 16 weeks pregnant after working at Bright Path for less than 4 months. If that was accurate, she had conceived again almost immediately after the first pregnancy loss. I hoped her physician was monitoring her carefully. I also hoped a new workplace might help her change. That hope lasted less than 6 months. One morning, Ethan sent a local news article to our internal group. The headline read, "Logistics employee charged with falsifying pregnancy records and stealing benefits." Sadie responded almost immediately, "Please do not tell me that is Vanessa." I opened the article. The first section did not publish her full name, identifying her only as VC, age 30, of Cicero. But later the story said she had previously worked in customer support for a Chicago software company. I knew it was her. According to the indictment, Vanessa joined Bright Path while the company was launching a new benefits package: 6 weeks of fully paid maternity leave funded by the employer, short-term disability coverage through a private insurer, and a family support program funded by the corporation. Employees had to complete 90 days before becoming eligible for the employer-funded portion. Leave began according to a physician's certification and the expected delivery date. Vanessa completed probation at the end of her 3rd month. The following week, she submitted documents stating that she was 26 weeks pregnant and needed early leave because of a short cervix, risk of premature labor, and severe hyperemesis. The file included an ultrasound, a clinic certification, and a physician's signature. Bright Path approved the leave, paid her salary, and submitted the disability claim to the insurer. There were 2 problems. The first ultrasound had been taken during her previous pregnancy. The date on the image had been altered. The doctor named on the certification had never treated Vanessa. She had downloaded a signature sample from an old patient portal, copied it into a new document, and changed the gestational age so she would qualify for early leave. While collecting salary and insurance payments, Vanessa continued selling products online and posting sponsored videos for a maternity brand. Bright Path did not discover the fraud immediately. It came to light only after her 2nd pregnancy loss. Vanessa was admitted to the hospital at 19 weeks. The hospital sent records to the insurer showing that her actual due date was almost 2 months later than the date in the documents she had submitted. A claims reviewer contacted the clinic listed on the certification. The clinic said it had never issued the document. An audit began. Investigators learned that Vanessa had altered more than one record. She sent 3 separate sets of documents to the employer, the insurer, and the company-funded family support program. Each set used a different due date in order to maximize benefits. After the 2nd pregnancy ended, she continued submitting certifications, claiming that the pregnancy was ongoing, and requested an additional 8 weeks of payments. That was when the matter moved from an HR dispute to criminal fraud. The total salary, insurance proceeds, and benefits Vanessa received, or attempted to receive, exceeded $80,000. Police seized her laptop. It contained multiple versions of ultrasound images, physician signature templates, spreadsheets calculating eligibility dates, and messages between Vanessa and Darlene. One message from Darlene read, "If you can stretch it another 2 months, that will cover the car. A company that big will not notice the money." Another message from Vanessa said, "If they find out, I'll say I confused the dates because the pregnancies were so close together." I finished the article and set down my phone. Gloria stood beside my desk. "She really forged a doctor's letter?" "Worse, She kept applying for money after the second pregnancy had already ended. Gloria closed her eyes. I don't understand. She lost 2 pregnancies and still did not stop. I did not understand either. But I remembered what Darlene had said in the hospital. If the child was not welcome, she should leave early and still bring money for her future brother. In that family, even grief became a calculation. Vanessa's case lasted nearly a year. Bright Path Logistics initially planned only to recover the money and terminate her employment. But when the insurer discovered that falsified documents had been transmitted through interstate electronic systems, the case was referred to insurance fraud investigators and county prosecutors. Vanessa was not arrested immediately. She was released pending trial, ordered to surrender her passport, and prohibited from accessing the benefits accounts. On social media, she claimed she was being hunted by a billion-dollar corporation because I entered the wrong due date. She posted videos of herself crying into the camera. I had just lost my second baby. Instead of giving me time to grieve, they sent police to my home. Thousands of people left supportive comments. Some online attorneys pointed out that due dates can change and that pregnancy records can be complicated. Then the indictment was made public. People saw the edited ultrasound files, copied physician signatures, and a spreadsheet titled Max Benefits Plan. In that spreadsheet, Vanessa listed each source of money: Bright Path salary, short-term disability payments, family support program, medical reimbursement, company hardship assistance. Beside each item, she listed the date on which documents should be submitted and the explanation to use. The final line read, "If the pregnancy does not continue, do not report it immediately. Wait until they request verification." After those documents became public, Vanessa deleted every social media account. Brandon filed for divorce. According to court records, he said he had not known Vanessa forged documents. He believed her leave was medically authorized and that the payments were lawful. However, he also admitted using part of the money to make payments on the vehicle. Darlene was investigated because of the messages, but prosecutors could not prove that she had personally edited or submitted the documents. She was not charged, though she had to return money that had been transferred to her account. Vanessa initially pleaded not guilty. Her attorney argued that the pregnancies occurred close together, records had been mixed up, and Vanessa was suffering from grief, anxiety, and financial pressure. He claimed she never intended to steal and had merely submitted an old certificate by mistake. Prosecutors produced the metadata from her laptop. Every file had a clear name: Old Ultrasound Clean, Change Date Version 2, Doctor Signature Final, Use for Insurance, Use for State Leave. There was little room left for the word mistake. Before the formal trial began, Vanessa accepted a plea agreement. She admitted to insurance fraud, falsifying medical records, and knowingly making false statements to obtain benefits from both her employer and a private insurer. In exchange, prosecutors dismissed several overlapping charges and recommended a 3-year prison sentence along with full restitution of the money she had received. The judge accepted the agreement. At sentencing, Vanessa was allowed to speak. She wore a gray suit with her hair tied low. There was no heavy makeup and no blue bow like the one she had once pinned to her handbag at the office. She looked much smaller than the woman who had once stood in the middle of Harbor Point and ordered 40 people not to eat lunch. "I made terrible decisions during the worst period of my life," she said. "I lost 2 babies, my job, my marriage, and I was terrified about money. I know I was wrong, but I do not believe I am a bad person." The judge replied, "This sentence is not based on whether you are a good or bad person. It is based on the fact that you planned the conduct, created multiple sets of false documents, used a physician's identity, and continued demanding payments after you knew you were no longer eligible. Grief may explain desperation. It does not turn deliberate conduct into an accident." Vanessa was sentenced to 3 years in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release, and ordered to repay more than $58,000 she had actually received. The additional money she attempted to claim, but had not yet collected, was treated as attempted fraud. News spread quickly through the industry. Brightpath placed her on its do not rehire list. Companies that had been considering her applications withdrew their offers. The organization that issued her professional customer service certification suspended it because of the dishonesty finding. Sadie read the article and said, "I used to think the worst thing she ever did was grab my chicken parmesan with her bare hand." Ethan leaned against a desk. "I thought it was breaking the lock on Mara's cabinet." Gloria shook her head. "The worst thing was that she always believed someone else should pay for her choices." I looked at the group. "Do not call the pregnancy losses karma." Ethan became quiet. I continued. "The miscarriages were not punishment. Those babies did nothing wrong. Her sentence came from falsifying records and taking money that did not belong to her." Gloria nodded. "Exactly." Sadie closed the article. "I only hope she understands the difference someday." I did not know whether Vanessa ever would, but the case forced Harbor Point to examine itself. During the discrimination investigation, the company's attorney had asked a simple question: why did an office with more than 40 employees have no place to eat? Peter Langford explained that the building was old, leased space was limited, and employees had eaten at their desks for years without a problem. The attorney replied, "There was no problem until there was a problem, is not a policy." The sentence stayed with Peter. When the company on the 13th floor moved out, Harbor Point leased half of the newly available space. The original plan was to expand sales. In the end, Peter devoted nearly 1/3 of the area to employees. We built a dining room with large windows overlooking the Chicago River, 6 long tables, 2 refrigerators, 3 microwaves, a dishwasher, and a separate exhaust system. Beside it was a wellness room with a reclining chair, sink, lockers, and privacy curtains for employees who needed to rest, pump breast milk, or handle private health needs. I rewrote the pregnancy accommodation policy. It stated clearly that the company would speak directly with each employee and provide reasonable support, such as flexible schedules, short breaks, modified seating, remote work, lifting restrictions, or a low-odor space. Another line was equally clear. An accommodation for one individual does not authorize that person to interfere with coworkers' property, health, break time, or reasonable workplace rights. Ethan said the line should be framed. I told him not to. He printed it anyway, taped it inside his snack cabinet, and wrote underneath, "Ethan's beef jerky may not be thrown away." Sadie added, "Do not grab chicken parmesan with your bare hands." I walked past, saw both notes, and pretended not to notice. On the day the new dining room opened, the company hosted a small lunch. Peter ordered Chicago-style deep dish pizza, Caesar salad, barbecue chicken, roasted vegetables, and a tray of brownies. Gloria brought homemade baked ziti. Sadie made lemon bars. Ethan brought beef jerky but left it sealed. We sat beside the windows and watched traffic below. Nobody had to rush through lunch over a keyboard. Nobody hid food inside a desk drawer. Nobody had to walk through snow because one person refused to use a private room. After lunch, Gloria handed me a cup of coffee. "Do you ever think things with Vanessa might have been different if the company had built this earlier?" I looked around the bright dining room. The first argument might never have happened. What about everything after that? This room could not have stopped her from taking other people's belongings, faking abdominal pain, or forging medical documents. Gloria nodded. But the company still had to accept its part. Yes, that was what I learned from the entire experience. Vanessa was wrong to treat pregnancy as absolute authority. We were also wrong to treat the absence of a dining area as a minor inconvenience that employees simply had to endure. Both things could be true. A person could need support and still have a duty to respect other people. A company could be legally blameless for an employee's conduct and still need to improve the conditions that allowed conflict to grow. A person could suffer a genuine loss and still remain responsible for deliberate dishonesty afterward. Several months after Vanessa entered prison, I received a letter. The return address was the correctional facility. The sender was Vanessa Crowley. At first, I intended to send it directly to the company's attorney, but the envelope contained no threat or legal demand, so I opened it. Mara, I am not writing to ask you to withdraw your statement or help reduce my sentence. That part is over. I used to believe you hated me because I was pregnant. Then I believed you were jealous because I had a family. In prison, I have had a great deal of time to reread the emails and meeting records my attorney received. I realize now that the company offered me more choices than I remembered. I did not remember them because all I could see was what I did not have. I did not have a private place to eat, so I wanted everyone else to stop eating. I could not control the pregnancy, so I tried to control the temperature, the smells, the work, and the people around me. I was afraid my husband's family would look down on me if I had a girl, so I pretended I was certain I was having a boy. I was afraid of losing money, so I turned documents into a way to make other people pay for my fear. I do not expect forgiveness. I only want to say that the trash can on my desk remains one of the memories I hate most, but I now understand why you put it there. Vanessa. I read the letter twice. I did not know how much of it was sincere and how much had been written because a rehabilitation program required inmates to confront the consequences of their actions. But I answered anyway. Vanessa, I never hated you because you were pregnant. I objected to the way you treated people. I also admit that placing the trash can on your desk was not the most professional response. I should have secured the area, called sanitation, and completed the incident report immediately instead of reacting in anger. I hope you use the rest of your sentence to prepare for life after release. When you start again, do not use what other people once did wrong to you as permission to do wrong to them. Mara. I sent the reply through the legal department and never received another letter. 2 years later, Sadie was promoted to customer support manager. Ethan finally quit smoking after his doctor warned him about high blood pressure. Gloria still brought baked ziti once a month, but now she made 2 trays because the entire floor wanted some. I moved from HR operations into the role of Director of Employee Experience. Whenever new employees joined, I showed them the dining room and wellness room before showing them their desks. I always said, "This is where you can eat, rest, or take a few quiet minutes. If you have a special health need, speak with HR. We will find a reasonable option, but everyone must also respect the shared space." None of the new employees knew why I always said the final sentence more slowly. At lunchtime, the smells of pizza, soup, curry, hamburgers, and reheated leftovers still mixed together. Someone would open a window. Someone else would turn on the exhaust fan. Some people chose seats farther from the microwaves. Nobody ordered the entire floor to stop eating. Office life was already exhausting enough, with deadlines, difficult clients, delayed trains, and meetings that should have been emails. Lunch should never have become a war. And one person's need for consideration did not mean everyone else had to disappear.